Major League Baseball's preempted us. They've got a game, so we've been bumped. This has happened many years with The Simpsons, with Treehouse of Horror.
This is unacceptable.
We're not going to be coming out with this Halloween episode then till like a couple days after, or maybe well into December.
Yeah. Well, I think the important thing to note is that this is not in any way our responsibility.
No, this can't possibly fall on us, but we're going to go ahead with the Halloween episode, and it'll just come out whenever it comes out, because it's PODRZEBIE, the comic boo nerdcast that dares to ask, what? Me spooky? I'm your eerie idiot, Kyle Boogeyman Bridget, and with me, your creepy co-idiot.
Okay, I know it's been a while since we've recorded, but like surely I am the idiot now and you are the co-idiot.
What?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I feel like I've taken on more responsibilities in the podcast, and also like I'm almost certain that you were the idiot last time.
Well, first of all, who are you? Can you give us your name before we go into this?
Patty McInerney.
Thanks. At least tell me your name before you give out. All right. Well, look, it's been a while. This season's only 3 episodes, right? It's a triennial podcast right now. So it's hard for me to remember how it shook out last time. But you know me, I'm mired in the occult. And I just happen to have a tarot deck here. So why don't we ask the spirits?
Well, hold on. That's witchcraft.
This?
Yeah, that's witchcraft. I'm a good Christian boy, man.
It's all Christian imagery. It's Catholic imagery. And there's a pope in here, the devil. These are all characters from Catholic mythology. This is all very...
That was a little backhanded. You just say Catholic mythology?
Sorry, wrong word. What's the word I should use? The Catholic...
theology.
Iconography. Theology. Okay. Sorry. I'm secular.
All right. Well, if you assure me that this is okay, I'll go for it.
Listen, it's got the Pope. It's got probably some Jesus in there.
I've seen a skeleton in it.
There's skeletons in the Bible.
There are.
There's probably skeletons in your local Catholic church. So
yeah, well, that's actually a fun fact. Beneath every Catholic altar, there is a little piece of a saint.
A reliquary.
Yeah, exactly.
A relic. Do they have a reliquary? A reliquary is what you put your relic in.
Well, that would be beneath the altar.
That's true. All right. Well, speaking of altars, I've got this deck here. You just tell me when to stop shuffling here.
Okay. Oh, Christ. Look at you. I hope this is on video.
It's not, but I'm going to put in better shuffling sound effects. These cards are really hard to shuffle.
You're going to put in like Paul Newman from the whatever that movie was.
Or like Data from like Next Generation when it's all split up. Anyway.
All right. Stop shuffling.
That's good. All right. So then I will just cut the cards here. All right. So I'll draw for me first.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, this is looking good. For me, I've got...
What is that?
The Fool. That bodes well for me. All right. Let's see. Let's see what came up for you.
What is that?
It's the Co-Fool.
The Co-Fool. God damn it.
I wasn't expecting it, but I'm sorry. It's Halloween. The veil is very thin, and the spirits have spoken. So we better be moving along to our next department.
What? I'm going to look that up. The Co-Fool Tarot? That can't be it. You better put in sound effects with me. Hey, okay. I can't. You know what? I have a Catholic filter on my web browser, and it's blocking all of this tarot stuff.
Won't let you do tarot, yeah.
I can't fact check your bullshit.
Well, trust me on it. Anyway, we better be moving along here.
Trick or treat, trick or treat, trick or treat for Halloween. Better give a treat that's good to eat if you want to keep life serene.
Welcome to the Crypt Creepers Department.
That's right. We're talking Tales from the Crypt. Patrick, what are your thoughts on Tales from the Crypt? How did you first discover it?
Would you believe me if I told you I'm pretty ignorant on Tales from the Crypt?
Yes. Yes, I would have no problem believing that. But you must have some passing knowledge of it. I'm sure you're aware of it to some degree.
I am. I have childhood memories of the Crypt Keeper, of that puppet from the television show. I never watched the show, but I feel like I had seen him often, and maybe like just little glimpses of him. And he was creepy. I understood why he was called the Crypt Keeper, because he was creepy as hell. And then, like, I don't know, I guess, I was into Mad like my whole life. And then as I've gotten into like EC books, I've become familiar with the Crypt Keeper. However, I still have never really read anything from those comics.
I'm glad you qualified that at the end. I've never read anything. Well, I definitely discovered it through the show, which I loved. And we could talk about the show more later.
Yeah.
And around the mid-90s, when I was aging out of being a regular Mad reader, but when my interest in Mad was becoming more scholarly, I've talked about this before, and I read about the history of EC Comics. And after discovering that these two things that I loved were connected, I picked up Digby Dial's Tales from the Crypt, the official archives, which is like a history of the comic and the show. And I would have been about 11 or 12 probably at the time.
Did they have any comics in there?
Yeah, they reprint 2 comics in there, which is one of the ones we're looking at today. And I've later seen some other ones.
Okay.
And so I was always fascinated with EC Comics after that.
Wait, I got another question.
Yeah.
This thing wasn't like the Russ Cochran thing.
No, it wasn't like an archive of it. There are those.
Yeah. Despite its name, it was not an archive.
No, not at all. Not at all. That was mostly not the comics. It had a lot of interviews and told the story of like EC and them creating the comics, and had a lot of like images of art and stuff. It was basically like the Tales from the Crypt version of Maria Radelbach's History of Mad,
Okay.
Completely Mad, I think it's called, which I also read at the time. The Complete Archives is a total misnomer.
Oh.
And I was disappointed when I found that out, because when I got it, I think my grandmother got it for me. It was wrapped in plastic.
Wrapped in plastic.
And I was like, oh boy. And then when I opened it up, I was like, oh, okay.
It's like, welcome to this book where we present neither complete nor archives. We honor neither of those words in the following pages.
Yeah, it was more like a DVD special edition that it would come with the Russ Cochran archives.
Yeah.
But it was still pretty good for the time. So I started reading more EC afterwards. Like they'd be printed in different sort of collections and stuff, like 3 books in one. I think DC was putting those out for a while. But by happenstance, I mostly read Weird Science and Two-Fisted Tales and kind of stuff like that than just Tales from the Crypt. But before we dive into our Tale from the Crypt today, I want to give a quick history of EC Comics and Tales from the Crypt. And for that, we have to go back to a character who looms large in comic history, who we've talked about before in our Wonder Woman episode, and that is Max Gaines. You may recall Max Gaines.
Max Gaines was the father of William Gaines.
Yes. Congratulations. A spooky star. It's like a crescent moon with a Halloween cat on it. Here you go. He more or less invented the comic book format with a book called Funnies on Parade, which was a proto-comic book from 1933. And so 4-color, saddle-stitched, newsprint, floppy comic books that fit in your hand and you could read them.
Yeah.
Max Gaines did that.
Know what the craziest thing about Max Gaines is that the name Max Gaines, it's sort of inverted. You would think the father would be named William and the son would have the name Max. It's just very odd for a father to have a child's name like that.
Yeah. Maximum Gaines. He was a salesman at Eastern Color Printing, which printed Sunday funnies for newspapers. And he figured out that you could fold a tabloid-sized newspaper in half twice, like you would if you were making greeting cards, and get this convenient, affordable book. And then he later collaborated with Dell on the first canonical comic book, Famous Funnies.
Not canonically Crumb.
No. But like generally like the history of comics, they say, oh, that's the first comic book. And
Okay.
some people will take it back to like the 19th century, but that's sort of the first one in the big run. And in 1938, he teamed up with Jack Leibowitz to publish comics under the banner of All American Publications, and Leibowitz co-owned National Allied Publications. So by transitive properties of ownership, All American's Green Lantern, The Flash, and Wonder Woman could all appear in the Justice Society of America alongside the Spectre, the Sandman, and Dr. Fate. So he's kind of DC.
Okay, I was going to ask, is the National, that's National Comics, which would later become DC Comics.
Broadly speaking, yes. So in 1944, Gaines sold his share of All American for $500,000.
That sounds like a lot of money back then.
But here's the thing. All American, National Allied, and Detective Comics merged into a company called DC Comics. So maybe he should have held on to those shares, you know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like a third of DC is probably worth more than $500,000. But he took his buyout money and he started EC Comics, which then stood for Educational Comics. And he published, you'll love this, picture stories from the Bible.
Hell yeah, I love Maximum Games.
Yeah, and picture stories from American history and some funny animal comics and stuff like that. And go figure, nobody wanted to buy Educational Comics, and the company was in the shitter. But fate stepped in. And in 1947, Max Gaines died tragically in a boating accident. And Max's son, genius idiot William Gaines, was dragged kicking and screaming into the comic biz. Yeah, he died. I'm sorry to be so cavalier with that information. Was that too soon?
No, that was perfect.
All right. And little Billy immediately changed the E to entertaining comics. And he began chasing the popular trends in comics of the day, westerns, romance, and crime. And an early hire for Bill Gaines was regular idiot Al Feldstein. And soon the pair began discussing the prospect of horror comics based on old horror radio programs that they loved as kids, like The Witch's Tale, Lights Out, and The Inner Sanctum, which will come in later.
Yeah.
And horror comics were largely an untapped genre at the time, and EC ostensibly invented it. There were a couple other titles earlier, but Tales from the Crypt really set the mold. And they were a huge hit. EC Comics, specifically their horror titles, outsold everything on the stands more or less except for Superman.
Dude, I try to explain this to there's this section of America that has no idea what EC Comics are. And I try to explain sometimes to people who are not involved in this world what a big deal that company was and how good their stable of artists were and how good the stories were. And it usually falls flat because they're like, yeah, but Batman, dog. If it was that good, why do I know about Batman and all of these other characters, but nothing from EC?
Yeah, it's because the Comics Code Authority thugs came in and broke their legs.
Who is it?
Goons!
Who?
Hired goons!
Hired goons?
Yeah, kneecapped them.
Yeah, so it sparked a wave of horror comics, which eventually made them the target of Frederick Wortham and the national moral panic he was leading over comics and youth delinquency. But that's a story for another day. We basically just told it.
Yeah.
You can go back and listen to our episode on it. So EC had 3 main horror titles, each of which had its own signature horror host.
Can I try to guess them?
Okay, but let me say what they're actually officially called.
Okay.
Ghoul Lunatics. So there's 3 Ghoul Lunatics.
Yeah.
Can you name?
Okay. Well, shit. Now, okay, there's the Crypt Keeper.
Yes. And he was from, what's it called? The Crypt of Horror is the name of, I think, his name originally.
There's the Crone.
No.
There's some old witch bitch.
The Old Witch.
Oh, okay.
That's her name, the Old Witch, not the bitch part.
All right.
She was in The Haunt of Fear.
The Haunt of Fear.
Yeah.
And then I want to say Crypt Keeper. Was there the Grave Digger? Did crime suspense stories have
The Undertaker.
The Undertaker. Dude, that's so frustrating. Being so close.
No, it's not
That's
the
so-
Undertaker. The Undertaker's a wrestler.
Yeah, but it's the what? The what do you call it? The grave digger?
No, that's what you call that.
Oh.
That's all for the truck.
Wait, what is the third one called?
The Vault Keeper.
The vault. Basically what I said.
And he has a co-hostess later, Drusilla, who's like a vampira knockoff.
Would you like to go out with me after you're dead?
I don't even know you. I haven't been introduced yet. I don't go out with strangers, you know.
I'm Vampira, the ghoul.
Well, I'm Clem, the coward.
He's introduced specifically as eye candy. He's like, he's here to be sexy, basically. And so you've got the Vault of Horror.
Yeah.
And the Vault was typically drawn by Johnny Craig. And it's a little more cerebral noir and a little less gory. And Craig would write his own stories. And so they stand out a bit.
That dude is a talent.
Yeah. And there's The Haunt of Fear, which has The Old Witch, which was drawn by ghastly Graham Ingalls. And those stories are more supernatural and gothic. And then the Crypt Keeper, who does, is it called The Crypt of Terror? Yeah, The Crypt of Terror.
How come crime suspense stories? How come he didn't get a...
Oh, crime suspense stories?
Yeah.
I think those are more like crime. I think they would often be in there, though, those same three.
Yeah, but it seems like horror to me.
Yeah, they kind of come out of that, but
Okay.
it doesn't fit in. It doesn't have its own. There's just
All right.
the three.
Okay, cut that out.
And so the Crypt Keeper was typically drawn by genius idiot Jack Davis. And he's kind of folksy, very gory, and funny.
Yeah.
And then notably, all three books contain each of the hosts and their own department. So you get a little bit of each in each book, but usually you get two stories of the main host, and then the other ones are in there.
Nice.
And so they're all kind of the same in that sense. I asked on the EC Comics Fan Addict group on Facebook what they thought the difference in vibe between the books was. And the most interesting answer came from a dude named Morgo Flash. And he felt that the Crypt Keeper was...
Dude, I love Morgo.
Oh, you know Morgo?
Yeah.
You do? Do you really?
No, I don't, but I love him.
Okay. Well, I'm glad. It's just, you just have general love for him.
Yeah, like agape love.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, Morgo Flash, and he felt that the Crypt Keeper was out of the swamps of the South. The Old Witch was from New England, and the Vault Keeper was from the Midwest.
I love that Midwest representation. That's pretty sick.
And I thought that was an interesting way to put it. That like the Crypt Keeper, he's kind of like this, southern swamp kind of creepy guy, and the Old Witch is more like Lovecraftian.
Yeah.
And the Vault Keeper, I don't know. He's more in like the tradition of Midwest horror. Like, I don't know. More like Children of the Corn.
All right.
So today we're looking at the most famous of the three. And even then, I think he was the most famous of the three. We're looking at Tales from the Crypt. So I picked today's comic from issue number 33 of Tales from the Crypt from December 1952. I first read this in that Tales from the Crypt archive book that isn't really an archive book. And it always stuck with me, and there's a pretty good scan on the archive, so the video will look good. And what do you think of this? Have you read this one before?
No, this is the first time I've read it.
Have you read it since we've started this episode?
Hold on. I'm done reading it.
Have you read any EC horror before?
No.
Okay.
No, I've read, not any horror things. I've got like the Russ Cochran, the Post Comics Code books, Valor, Impact, MD. Impact is the one that has, Master Race in it. Okay. I've read EC ones. I've read some of the war ones, but never the horror stuff.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a baby when it comes to horror. But this is nice because I realize now they're not scary at all.
I mean, some of them are scarier than this. I kind of picked a not so scary one.
Oh, geez. All right. Well, I'm not going to read them.
Anyway, without further ado, let's crack open the Crypt of Terror. Give us your best Crypt Keeper. You can read the introduction.
How does he sound?
Got a collector's item for you fiends. Got a real great chiller diller. Give the man your grimy little dime if you haven't done so already, and come into the Crypt of Terror. This is the Crypt Keeper, ready with another of my tales of horror. So sit down on the tan bark floor And now begin the blood-curdling yarn I call Lower Birth.
I always pictured the like living crypt keeper as sounding different.
Yeah. Maybe we could do something from the South and I can talk like I'm from the bayou. Hey, got a connector item for you fiends. Got a real great chili dinner.
I don't know about that either.
I done in Baton Rouge.
So I always like it when the crypt keeper dresses up or goes somewhere that matches the theme of the story. And here he's at like the opening to a spooky carnival ride, and the crypt keeper is the barker, and he's got a bowler hat, which looks great on him.
Oh, absolutely.
And also, I like the skeleton with the roll of tickets.
Mm-hmm.
That's a humorous Jack Davis kind of touch, and like the little eyeballs looking out of the.
Yeah, it's this panel in particular. I can't help but just like my frame of reference for Jack Davis is Mad Magazine. And so it's like, oh, sweet. This is gonna be a fun little silly thing.
Well, I watched an interview with him about doing Tales from the Crypt, and he talked about how like he liked the funny stuff. You know, he's got that like sweet sort of, Southern gentleman.
Yeah.
He's just like, I like the funny stuff. I'm a real cartoonist at heart, so I like the more funny stories.
He's a sweetheart of the South. That's what Dalton Vaughn calls him.
Oh, yeah. Well, he is that for sure. Let's see. So he's got an introduction here. Do you want to read the introduction? Maybe you can just read it in your regular voice.
I thought I read that.
I mean, not the introduction, but the first panel here.
Long before the advent of radio, movies, television, and comic books, the only entertainment folks throughout the country enjoyed were the traveling carnivals, which set up their gaily colored tents on vacant tracts of land at the outskirts of their towns. About 80 years ago, one of these carnivals came to a small town in the Ozark Mountains.
Right this way, folks. See the sideshow. See the greatest collections of oddities ever to be assembled under one tent. Right this way, folks.
The sideshow of this particular carnival was owned by a man named Ernest Feely. Patiently, over the years, he had assembled a fabulous collection of oddities and freaks. He had the usual attractions.
See Fanny, the fat lady, folks. 450 pounds of female pulchritude.
Pulchritude. What's that word? Pulchritude.
Pulchritude. Pulchritude. The Hadnar, the sword swallower. Skullface, the living skeleton. Fago, the fire eater.
But Ernest Feely had one attraction, a headline attraction, that never failed to draw the crowds, to separate the curious from their quarters.
And last but not least, folks, the star attraction of Feely's sideshow. The most unusual oddity ever to be put on display anywhere, anytime. Inside, in its original sarcophagus, is Myrna, the only female Egyptian mummy in existence. 25 cents, folks, right this way.
So, Ernest Feely claims that Myrna is the only mummified female. That's hokum. There are dozens of lady mummies listed on Wikipedia. There's like a list of mummies. However, there is a belief that mummies are typically less well preserved because the 5th century Greek historian Herodotus wrote that ancient Egyptians kept the bodies of deceased women in the home longer, so they were never embalmed before decay set in. And it's been speculated that this was to prevent potential necrophiliac embalmers from getting morning wood and giving them a hearse's kiss. Sorry, that joke's been done to death.
Oh, that's...
Sorry.
Herodotus is a fucking pervert, okay? He's projecting there.
Whoa, you should hear the saucy things he writes about Jesus. Anyway, I think that Egyptologists don't agree with that assessment. I think the consensus is that mostly rich and important people were the ones that got mummified, and that was mostly men, I guess. And also they paid for the better mummification services.
Yeah.
So I just think mummies are relatively rare to still be rare. Have you ever seen a mummy unwrapped?
No, I don't know. Maybe when I was a kid, I think I went to some museum and saw something involving mummies.
Nowadays, it's considered disrespectful to display them unwrapped.
Yeah.
And archaeologists don't actually need to unwrap them because they have imaging tech that better preserves the specimens.
Yeah.
Back in like the 19th century and early 20th century, they used to have mummy unwrapping parties. Like some rich guy would buy a mummy and like invite a bunch of people over for a party, and they'd like cut open the face and look at the ghastly image. I've seen a few mummies without their wrappings. The Royal Ontario Museum in Toronto has one. And I think I've seen a couple at Ripley's, believe it or not, of which I believe at least one of them was real.
I don't.
Because like the mummies that there are, like the Egyptian mummies, are documented.
Is it like with shrunken heads? We had a whole conversation about shrunken heads, how that became a little side hustle for people to like shrink heads. And so there are like fake shrunken heads or shrunken heads that were just made for the purpose of selling and not for any type of like fun voodoo.
There have been counterfeit mummies.
Yeah.
Some of them even to cover up murders, apparently.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the reason. The reason they don't do the unwrappings anymore is out of like respect and stuff like that. Lame, I say.
Yeah.
You want to see those faces.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Myrna the Mummy, she's owned by Zachary Kling, who's a retired archaeologist, and Ernest Feely pays Zachary Kling a very large summary for the privilege of exhibiting her. And he sort of tells her story. Basically, he says that they found on the tomb walls in hieroglyphs that Myrna was like a lady in waiting to the pharaoh's wife.
Yeah.
And she rejected the advancements of the pharaoh, and so he had her mummified alive.
Yeah, which is kind of nuts.
It doesn't really work. You got to rip your brain out through your nose and stuff. Like it.
Is that true? Did they do that? I remember reading in a book where like they stuck a hook up their nose and removed their brain. It's like, that's not possible. Your brain isn't like spaghetti. I know it's like folded on itself, but it's like a big mass. It's not, you can't just like hook one of those and like pull it out like a rope.
No, it's like a massive fat. They use some sort of tool. I believe it does come out of the nose, though. I seem to recall that. I actually took an art history class on Egypt.
Yeah.
And we talked about how mummies were made, but that was a long time ago, and so I might be misremembering, but I'm fairly
They got to empty them out, though, for sure. You got to empty out the blood and everything. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's like specific like Coptic jars that they use that like represent different figures in their pantheon, and like different organs go in different ones.
How about this? Maybe the reason why women mummies aren't as well preserved is because the breast tissue has so much moisture in it.
I think it's just that there's not as many of them, and the ones that there are on average as rich as like the richer male mummies, basically.
All right.
It's a patriarchy thing. So we see him showing Myrna. She's been entombed for 4,000 years. Yeah.
I really like these panels where he's telling this backstory of Myrna, and you see her like waiting on the queen and then being accosted by the king and then being wrapped up by his goons. It's just in those 3 panels, it tells the entire story. And it's just like, it's really cool and very compelling to look at.
Yeah. And it's almost Bollywood-esque too, because it's got like the sexy babes and
I was going to add, and not just because of the babes is it compelling to look at.
Like it's clearly Jack Davis, but it's a little bit more comic booky and stuff. Maybe just because of the Egyptian theme.
Yeah.
You know, seems a little put on.
Yeah. The other thing real quick that I'm noticing is anybody who's read like any amount of EC comics knows that they're so dense with their storytelling. Like they have these big boxes of text above almost every single panel. And the one with the pharaoh, it's kind of funny. There's not a ton of text, but the way it's drawn, it almost looks like he's scrunched over and being like pushed down by this block of text. Like you can't see
over coming at her, but it does seem like that. If it was in Mad, you would think that's what was happening.
Yeah,
because that thing kind of happens in Mad. So they've got a shot of him showing her. He unwraps the face. That's part of like the show, and then we get a real money shot of her face.
Oh.
Good Lord. Somebody screams from the audience.
And she looks great. Jack Davis, if you're not going to get Graham Ingalls to do a creepy mummified corpse, Jack Davis is a good pick.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, he's gone on to draw so many cool monster drawings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's great. So they all pack in to see Myrna, and then...
well, then he gets approached.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's approached by this creep in a top hat.
So a top-hatted, corncob, pipe-smoking Ozarks, what do you call this guy? Hillbilly?
Maybe it's a hillbilly, but they want you to so clearly know that he is a hayseed that they name him Jeb. Jeb Sickles.
Do you want to read his part there?
You, Mr. Feely? My name's Jeb Sickles. I understand you own this here sideshow, Mr. Feely. I think maybe you might be interested in what I got.
What's that, Mr. Sickles?
I'm the doc round these parts, Mr. Feely. Ain't got no license or nothing, but folks like what I do for 'em, so they come to me. About 2 years ago, this here crone come down from the mountains. I never laid eyes on her before. She begged me to come back with her. I went. She told me her son was sick, terrible sick. She said he was a-dying. She took me up to the mountains to this here cave. I nearly throwed up at what I saw. It were her son, Mr. Feely. Her son had 2 heads. It was horrible. He was too far gone for me to save. He died about an hour after we got to the cave. He must have been 22, Mr. Feely. I took his body back down the mountain and put it in a moonshine still. I didn't want nobody to see it.
And you still have it? The 2-headed body?
It's been in the still for 2 years, Mr. Feely. The moonshine seems to have preserved it. You
take me to it quickly. So there's like this old crone. I love her teeth, her weird teeth, where it's like they're made out of her skin.
Yeah.
That way of drawing. And you get to see this 2-headed corpse with its gormless dead expression.
In one of the panels, I don't know, maybe it was a printing error, but it's just the eyes are all white.
Yeah.
And it looks so cool.
And she says, "Can you do anything for Enoch?" And he's like, "I'm sorry, ma'am. He's already dead. I've done all I could." And she's just, "Take him away. Take him out of my sight." And she's sobbing into her hands. It's touching, I think.
It is. It's heartbreaking.
I like how Mr. Feely, at first he's like, speed it up. And he's like, and then he's so excited, right? Like he really spins this yarn. And so they push their way through the crowd, ogling at Myrna, the mummy, and they go outside the grounds. They take a horse and wagon, which I think is a nice touch. Like it really adds to the atmosphere of it. And he brings her to the still, and he casts his lantern in, and you can see Enoch with his 2 heads there floating lifelessly. And they're all bathed in orange.
Yeah. Well, and Enoch is staring up at him. That's the freakiest thing.
Yeah, and I just like how he's in this pool of light yellow and he's in blue and everything else is orange. And then the way they've got the light emanating off the lantern. Marie Severin, she really had the feel. She brings so much to these comics.
Yeah.
That's why I'm somewhat offended by those people who love the Russ Cochran black and white editions,
Dude, I bought that, the Russ Cochran Impact thing thinking I was going to be getting a full color master race. I was so bummed to open it up, because I guess I had to find a comic reprint of it, because the one from Fantagraphics is black and white. Russ Cochran is black and white. And it's
yeah,
I would like to see the actual comic, man.
You got to find the ones they put out in the early 2000s.
Is that Dark Horse?
No, they're just like these ones.
You in your underwear?
I'm wearing shorts.
Oh, okay.
They're like house shorts, so they're a little scandalous.
Yeah.
But yeah, you want to get these ones that they put out. They're just perfect bound.
Oh,
it would have been in the comic stores. They were $8-9. They did a whole bunch of them. They'd be 3 in a book.
Yeah.
And I think they did Panic and Weird Science, The Haunt of Fear, and Piracy. They did everything.
Cool.
I've got war ones, but they look great. It's a good way to go. And I mean, I like seeing the black and white too, but I think the color really adds to it. I don't think you would get the same thing out of this comic. without the color.
Oh, absolutely not.
So Mr. Feely offers Jeb money for Enoch, and that Jeb is going to exhibit him and tell his story, right?
Yeah.
So Enoch was placed opposite Myrna, and 5 times a day, Jeb Sickles and Zach Kling exhibited their oddities to the curious who'd paid their quarters to see them. Myrna.
Enoch.
5 times a day, Myrna's rotten brown wrappings were removed from her mummified face. 5 times a day, the curtain hiding Enoch's tank was withdrawn, revealing the twisting, turning, preserved corpse. And 5 times a day, as the crowd ogled and gasped, pasty-skinned, 2-headed Enoch, floating in his formaldehyde world, stared with glazed eyes at the putrid, mummified, unwrapped face of Myrna the mummy.
It's so good, the writing, where it's just like the rhetorical device of just like 5 times a day, repeating 5 times a day, 5 times a day is just so cool. And that mixed with the panels of like these different angles of him staring and his body still looking so lively. It's beautiful.
Yeah, those are great panels.
Yeah.
And then the carnival moved on from town, and they're cutting Kling's salary because Enoch's a bigger pole. Mr. Feely announced that he's moving Myrna out front.
He's like the opener.
And Jeb and Enoch are the stars now.
And so when the rotted wrappings were removed from Myrna's sunken, mummified eyes, she looked out across the crowd and saw nothing.
I give you Myrna.
And when the curtain was pulled back, uncovering Enoch's tank, he looked out across the crowd and saw nothing. I give you Enoch.
Very sad.
Oh, yeah.
And they do a good job of making them look sad without like really changing their facial expressions, because they're dead until this point.
Yes.
But then in the black of night, when the carnival folk are asleep, they both emerge from their respected sarcophagi and tanks, and they go off. And it's explicit. You can see Myrna getting out of her sarcophagus. You can see Enoch climbing out of the tank. And it cuts to the next day. And Jeb and Kling are accusing each other of stealing each other's attractions, of stealing each other's attractions. And Feely's smart, so he just says, use your head, fools. If both are missing, neither of you could have done it. And they follow a trail of like formaldehyde and wrappings out past the circus, all the way to the home of a justice of the peace.
Now, for those of you who aren't up to date on 1800s marriage traditions, justice of the peace is where you could go to get married.
Yeah, he's the Marion man.
I love that. I love that about Enoch, named after the biblical character. And he's like, babe, I'm going to need you to, become a Christian.
And, Myrna's really old school. So they knock on the door in the Justice of the Peace. And he says that a couple came last night and wanted to get married. And he performed the marriage. And they say, wasn't there anything strange about them? And he says, well, they smelled mighty weird, but, $5 is $5. And Mr. Feely says, you see? And they cut to the face of the justice of the peace. And he's got like the white irises. And he says, I didn't see nothing. Can't see. I'm blind,
Blind. Good Lord.
You can just hear the dramatic music in your head.
Yeah.
And then we cut to the Crypt Keeper. He would often do this and kind of like amp you up for the finish.
Yeah.
So a year later, the carnival returns. For some reason, Jeb and Kling are still with the carnival.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't know.
Wait, why the hell would they be?
I don't know. That part doesn't really make sense.
Maybe just clean up horse shit or something.
They should have included that. They should have been like, hey, you losers. And they could have been like shoveling elephant shit or something, or like working the games.
Yeah.
Or one of them could be a geek and biting the head off a chicken.
Dude, that was like that. What was that movie that came out recently? It was a Guillermo del Toro one where the guy.
Oh, yeah. Nightmare Alley.
Yeah, that was fun, dude.
That's a remake of like an older film and a book before that. Anyway, so this prospector-looking guy, this strange mountain man, comes up to Mr. Feely, and he says, I've been hearing about this living mummy and a 2-headed corpse. up in the old crone's cave. And people are superstitious about it. So Feely grabs Kling and Jeb and takes him up there, and they find the bodies of Myrna and Enoch.
Still one still wrapped in linens, and the other still naked.
Yeah. And so they drag the long-lost oddities back down the mountain, and Mr. Feely's like, at last, after over a year.
But the three men were out of earshot when the whale drifted out from deep in the bowels of the crone's cave. They never saw the infant thing crawl out into the sunlight, its eyes streaming with tears, crying for its parents.
That's pretty good. I'll probably still put in a sound effect, but that was pretty good.
Man.
It's a crypt keeper. It's a little baby crypt keeper. And he's like, that's my parents, so I got to send them an anniversary card next month. Which is so weird that they did the Crypt Keeper's origin story in Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah, it's very strange. They gave us the story that nobody asked for.
But I think it's good. I think it's really fun. It's just so weird that he has an origin story. Anyway, I don't want to get too into the weeds with this, but there was a film adaptation of Lower Birth, which appeared on the HBO show Tales from the Crypt that ran for 7 seasons from 1989 to 1996.
From the Crypt.
And it was kind of a hit show, and lots of famous people acted or directed episodes of it, including people who wouldn't normally have done television at the time, like Tom Hanks and Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Does HBO still have that? Do you think they have it on Max?
I don't know. We have Crave here in Canada. I actually downloaded them. I guess I probably could have checked there first.
Yeah.
So I was a big fan when I was a kid. You know, I've talked in the past about how I loved 60s, 70s, and 80s horror films, and how horror was kind of being gentrified in the 90s with movies like Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Yeah.
But Tales from the Crypt kept it real, you know? They never lost that earlier vibe. And the comic had inspired lots of filmmakers since when it was a comic, like George A. Romero and writers like Stephen King. So it was all in kind of a similar vein. Also, I had Crypt Keeper Mania. I freaking love that puppet.
Yeah.
I don't know how
the puppet is so cool.
Yeah.
But I do have to say, the adaptation, not as good as the original material. I kind of like the script that they wrote in this comic better.
Yeah. And I mean, I think it varies from episode to episode. But yeah, if you weren't there at the time in the 90s, it's hard to relate just how popular, though, that rotting corpse was.
Yeah.
He was like a pop culture figure like Miss Piggy.
Yeah.
And there was a cartoon show, too, Tales from the Crypt Keeper.
Yeah.
Like they'd sanded off the edges a bit. He had a haunted house Double Dare type game show. He had a cameo in the Casper movie. He did a rap video.
I feel like I remember that. Everybody's doing rap videos.
Oh, yeah.
Hulkamania was doing rap ones.
Yeah, well, he was like the Hulk Hogan of horror.
The Crypt Keeper's in the house with a groove that's nasty.
Yeah, he had all kinds of merchandise, including a pinball machine. And he co-hosted the Horror Hall of Fame in 1990. I remember watching that. And I loved seeing him in this episode. I love the intro with the Danny Elfman song zooming into the creep house, and then the Crypt Keeper pops out. Chef's kiss. And then you got the Crypt Keeper. He's rocking a doll and talking sweetly to it. And then he pulls out a hammer. It's supposed to smash its head in. And then when he notices the viewer, he's like, oh, excuse me.
Ah, there. Isn't he just so cute that you wanna? Whoops. Crypt Keeper here, kiddies.
And then he picks up the book and crushes the baby doll anyway.
Yeah.
And something else they did interesting in the show was they had these custom EC covers made for the Crypt Keeper's book. So when he opens the book, it's not the original cover. Most of them are done by this guy, Mike Vosberg, who did She-Hulk, G.I. Joe, Bloodshot.
Oh.
Initially, I was irked when I found out, like, why not use the actual covers?
Yeah.
But it makes sense because not all of the stories adapted from Tales from the Crypt. Some were from the Vault of Horror. And the stories in them didn't necessarily end up on the cover.
Yeah.
Right? It'd be like 5 stories in a Tales from the Crypt book. Only one's on the cover. But sometimes in the episodes when you watch, if they have to have a comic, they'll adapt it from an actual Tales from the Crypt cover. They did it a little different. It's still set in a carnival. And, you know, the mise-en-scène looks great. It's got lots of great carnival bits like a calliope and tents and a kangaroo in a cage. But it's all very claustrophobic and with its half sepia lighting and heavy shadows. It's obviously done in a small stage.
Yeah, I noticed that. It was like, how big is this set? Claustrophobic is the way to describe it.
Like, yeah, they probably had like a one big sound stage and they just moved things around. And Carnival Story actually kind of works well for that because you want to have a different room. You just set up a canvas behind, you're in a different tent, you know?
Yeah.
And the story plays out a little different. Enoch's the initial attraction and he's alive but dying.
Yeah. It seems like it's his father that owns him. I don't know. Maybe I didn't pay attention close enough, but it is like this creepy, abusive thing that's going on. I get why they made him alive, I guess. It makes it more realistic.
And also the fact that he's dying makes it so that like Sickles is like hates him more because he's like, you're my meal ticket and you're just going to die. And then I got nothing.
Yeah.
And then Kling shows up and instead of being an archaeologist, he's a gambler. And he tells Sickles that he won Myrna in a game of chance and he wants Sickles to manage her basically.
This is the most convoluted part of the story. As I was watching, I was like, there has to be a simpler way. Just make him a fucking archaeologist, I guess. That's the answer.
Yeah, well, they want to make it about this necklace. This is a big part of it. They want to make it about this necklace, and they want to make it more of a castration style horror story. So it kind of plays out from the comic there. The big difference is that Sickles is really interested in Myrna's necklace. She's got like a fancy necklace, and Kling tells him it's costume jewelry. Enoch falls in love with Myrna the same way. The curtain's pulled back on his cage. He sees Myrna.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he falls in love. Turns out Myrna is stolen and her jewels are real, but cursed. And anyone who takes them will be castrated.
That's actually, you can't call bunk on that because as we know, all mummies are cursed.
Yeah. The reason for the curse belief is because like
all
a lot of people...
all those people who are dying.
Wow. They don't talk about all the people who are not cursed by mummies.
None, because nobody fucks with mummies because we all figured it out now.
No, people were eating mummies back in the day. Mummy was like an ingredient you would get at the apothecary.
This sarcophagus should contain the remains of Emperor Nimbala, who ruled Zubin V over 29 million years ago. Hey, Professor, great jerky. My God, this is an outrage. I was going to eat that mummy.
Yeah, and they would grind them up and shit. Yeah.
There's a shade of brown called mummy brown. That's based on a color that the pigments were originally made from grinding up mummies.
And where are those people now?
Well, they're all dead, I guess. But also it was like the 1700s or whatever. It would be weirder if they were alive. It'd be more of a curse if they were alive, but like had aged.
Yeah. They just slowly become walking Myrnas.
Yeah. So Sickles doesn't believe in the curse. He kills Kling with some pruning shears and then tries to frame Enoch for the murder. But as Sickles is stealing Myrna's jewels, Enoch castrates him to death with the shears. And then later that night, when Feely pulls back the curtain on Enoch and he's missing, and the crowd groans and he's like, oh no.
The amazing Enoch, the two-faced man.
What happened? He escaped.
When he pulls back the curtain on Myrna, she's missing, but in her place is the mutilated Sickles.
And gentlemen, boys and girls, I command you to look upon Myrna, the Egyptian mummy.
I didn't even catch the castration part.
They should have played it up earlier somehow.
Yeah.
Like he should have had like a girlfriend who talked about his giant penis or something early on.
Yeah.
He should have been like a legendary lover in the circus or something. You know?
Yeah, like a Liam Neeson type.
Yeah, and like make some comments about it, lead up to it. So you cut to a year later, the police takes him to the cave where we see the dead body of Enoch snuggled up to Myrna. Feely retches at the smell and runs out, and the camera pans over to an adorable baby crypt keeper.
Oh.
Who's like all rotted and crying. And in a moment of uncharacteristic sentimentality, the grown-up crypt keeper weeps, thinking of his dear old mummy and daddy.
Oh, sorry, kiddies, but that story just makes me go all to pieces.
Your puns in this episode are almost as good as his.
They probably cribbed them from the comic. I was impressed at how tight it was. Like, it was convoluted, but it's like 20 minutes. They get this whole story out in 20 minutes. You know, the comic is more dense than the episode.
Yeah, we couldn't even talk about this comic in 20 minutes.
We have that problem. Anyway, speaking of that, shall we be ghouling to our next department?
Yes, we shall. And welcome to the Heap on Truckin department.
That's right, idiots. And this department is in a jugular vein because we're exhuming some classic tales calculated to drive you mad. And the story we're talking about is Outer Sanctum. This is based on Inner Sanctum Mystery. It was a radio show which ran from 1941 to 1952. It would tell these mystery suspense horror stories, and there were other radio shows doing this, but Inner Sanctum distinguished itself by introducing its tales with one of the original horror hosts, Raymond. And there are older horror hosts like Old Nancy and Satan the Cat from Witch's Tales 10 years earlier, and Lights Out with Arch Oboler. Raymond was one of the most popular of the era. So, yeah, the show would start with this long creaking door sound effect. And then Raymond, played by Raymond Johnson, would come in and introduce the episode in a sardonic voice with creepy organ music and endless morbid tongue-in-cheek humor.
Lipton Tea and Lipton Soup present Inner Sanctum Mysteries. Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum. This is your host to welcome you through the squeaking door for another half hour of lovely chills and shudders. Oh, before we begin tonight, I'd like to give you a word of advice. If you should ever walk through a cemetery at midnight and come face to face with a transparent personality floating above a tombstone, don't be frightened. After all, you can see right through him.
And this inspired both the comic horror hosts like the Crypt Keeper in 1950, but also all the imitators that followed, as well as the original TV horror host Vampira, for whom you could draw a line directly to Sven Gulli today.
Love Sven Gulli.
Yeah. And there was even an Inner Sanctum TV show that started shortly after that would begin with a dolly shot through a door, which probably inspired the opening for the Tales from the Crypt TV show in the late 90s. Sorry, I guess in the early 90s. This is really the value add of reading tales calculated to drive you mad. The original EC comic version of Mad. And it's that the satire really can help you dissect the origins of contemporary pop culture.
Yeah. I've never heard of Inner Sanctum.
I heard about it from looking up this story.
Yeah, and all the horror hosts, it's like, what is there? There's like Billy Ray or whatever that guy is from Texas. And I know like Elvira and Sven Gulli, of course. But yeah, I'm going to have to check that out.
So usually when you look up like horror hosts, which I did quite a bit for this, usually they reference Tales from the Crypt is like sort of the start of it. But obviously Tales from the Crypt was inspired by earlier radio shows. Maybe there's something earlier than that, you know? Maybe there's like a vaudeville equivalent from before that. I don't know.
That'd be too spooky.
Let's go through this. So often we leave the chicken fat till the end, but this is done by Will Elder. So I think we just kind of have to do it as we go through.
Dude, it's replete with chicken fat. The bulk of the comic is not the comic. It's all the extra shit that he has put in all over.
And he's the master of it. He basically like created the format. He coined the term chicken fat. And yeah, so we'll have to go through this. You want to read the intro?
Well, okay, really real quick. It also seems like he invented Mad Magazine's marginals.
Oh, you think from this one?
Yeah, I mean, like around the door of, we'll get to it, but horror department. For heaven's sake, drop this comic book. Get rid of it. Bury it. Do anything. Only don't listen to this story. For in front of you is a door behind which lies a story that will do things, strange things, to you, to your mind. For this is the inner door to the outer sanctum. Make my voice echoey.
Yeah, I want some lightning crashes. And so we're treated to this big open room. It's like we're inside a mausoleum. There's like a big door. It's somewhere between a crypt and a vault. Right in the center, stone door. It's got hieroglyphs. I mean, it's coded as hieroglyphs, but like what you were talking about before, it's the details change in every panel. And there's a lot of great chicken fat here. You know, this page reminds me a bit of The Night Before Christmas from Panic #1 that we looked at on our non-denominational Jesus Christ holiday special.
Yeah.
It's quiet with all those cold blues, you know?
Yeah. Dude, know what I appreciate about you?
What?
And the way that, and I want to learn about this myself someday, but the way that you notice how the colors add to the story, you did that with like the blues and yellows when Enoch was like laying in that tub. And like just noticing how the blues make this like I don't know, it's just
because you're colorblind. That's your problem. It would be easy if you weren't colorblind. Like I feel bad for you not being able to do that. I don't think it's any lack of knowledge. I think it's you probably just don't notice.
I think you're selling yourself short. I think that not everybody like notices and analyzes color the way you do.
Well, I notice that in other people. I think I do it just on like a regular level. But I think you're at a disadvantage.
My disability is affecting me.
I'm sorry to single you out for that, but I just wanted to say you probably would have no problem otherwise.
Well, I like that it's not my fault.
One piece of chicken fat I think we should look at, though, is his signature, Bill Elder, which is on a tombstone, and then laid across the tombstone are copies of eccomics, Mad, and more eccomics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I noticed that. I love it. I mean, I don't know. He's always good at like hiding his signature. I mean, it's not hidden, but you know, like incorporating his signature in fun ways.
Yeah.
I do like also, I mean, so there's this coffin in this mausoleum. And I mean, like, he just can't help himself by like turning things into other things and making them referential. So the top of the coffin is a mailbox and it says male or female. And then in the side of the mailbox, he squeezed in a suggestions box.
And then also out of the tombstone is coming like one of those things that you have to grab something. He's reaching up to like a level where there would be like a body or something. There's like cans up there. Yeah. And below it's like a bread oven. And then there's a box that just says headquarters and it's full of skulls. Yeah, you can just look at this forever.
Yeah, I mean, like if we did point out every little piece of chicken fat, it would be like 30 minutes just on that one page.
Yeah, for sure. So then the bottom three panels, you've got the door, it's opening slowly. The hieroglyphs change on every page. And I mean, they're coded as hieroglyphs, but they lose that pretty quick.
Yeah. And he's got, you know, like the idea of like visual continuity, there's no regard for that. And it happens like throughout this comic where it's just like the same core to a drawing of like a doorway or something. And then just every panel, everything else in the room is changing.
But he does keep the structure. The frame of the door, where the door kind of is embossed, those stay consistent. But in one spot, it says no tipping. Another one, you know, it says go slow ghoul zone. On the next panel, you know, the hieroglyphs, they're only Egyptian in a couple of the panels even.
Yeah.
Over these three panels, we slowly zoom in on the door and in big letters going across kind of in like a wavy pattern, we've got a scream. And it goes all the way to the corner and then says continued.
And then it picks right up on the next page with continued. And then the end.
And it keeps zooming in. And we actually get some literal chicken fat here. And I think this may be the first instance of literal chicken fat in Mad. Because he slips it in a few places, but I think this might have been the first time. This is only the 5th issue, right?
Yeah, it is.
So then we see our horror host, and he's like a nebbish sort of combination of kind of a crypt keeper and the vault keeper.
Yeah.
He's little and he has a bird on his head. And what's he say?
Good evening. This is Ramon, your host. Come in. I've been waiting for you. Damn, that got you, dude.
He's just so pathetic. It's like he's not even trying. Like Harvey Kurtzman, he just hits on everything. Even this little element of it, I'm just gonna look how lame it is. I'm your ghost. I mean host. Ooh. Now I feel like an asshole for having done it throughout this episode, you know? I'm sorry. Continue.
I've been waiting for you to fix my squeaking door. What?
And then you notice that, like, his pen is squeaking. As he's walking across the room, his feet are squeaking. There's little oil cans everywhere. And then also other kinds of oil, like lanolin. Even the mouse is, like, drinking one and squeaking. Then when he walks back, he's squeaking. And then when he's, like, cleaning out his ear, it's squishing. This is all playing on the long creaking door at the beginning of Outer Sanctum.
Oh, well, also through that, the bird is changing. The bird on his head is changing every single panel, from, like, a raven to an eagle that looks like it's from the dollar bill.
Yeah, it's got E pluribum unus or whatever. He's got it written across on a sash.
Yeah, then to an owl and a toucan and then 3 chickens.
Well, its head's moving, so the chicken's kind of...
Oh, okay.
shaking. But it's also like shitting an egg out of its cloaca. It's rolling down its head. So he goes over to his dusty book, which is just covered in a mountain of dust.
Yeah.
Like you broke open an hourglass and dumped it on the book. And he blows it off in a big cloud, and then he walks through it, because he's going to read you his the title of his Crypt of Terror comic book, issue number 7. My rare old comic book from my library of EC comic books, sold on newsstands everywhere. Yay. And he like walks through a mountain of the dust, and the toucan's dusting him. And then he introduces the story.
Ha! Here we are. This story is about a thing, a horrible, shapeless thing. Not vegetable, mineral, or animal, just a thing. This story will give you something to thing about. Get it? Thing? Think? Ahem. Let's see now. Our story begins just beyond the Louisiana bayous, in the depths of mysterious, unexplored, unpenetrable, steaming, sweaty, disgusting Okefenokee swamp. Okefenokee.
Yeah, he changes it every time. It's Okefenokee here, but then later it's the Okefenokee.
Yeah.
And I think it's something else later.
Okefenokee swamp, where the world stood still. Not a sign of life. Look, pick or quick, only a tumble-down shack propped up with a single broomstick.
I love it. I also love the image of the swamp. I like the way the smog is done with the color. And there's like an old jalopy there that's being pushed by a skeleton.
The smog you were talking about, wafting across it, that would be totally lost if this were black and white. That's all done by the colorist, isn't it?
Yeah, but you would see more of the little details. So I guess that maybe that's why people like it. My theory is that people like the black and white version because they're older and they grew up on the paperbacks, like the Mad Readers that got issued.
Oh, yeah.
And that's how they engaged with the first 23 issues of Mad. And so they saw them in black and white.
Yeah.
Also, there was fewer of those printed. The black and white were limited in number. And that's why people like them, because they cost more from the start.
Ah.
So we've got inside the shack, also propped up by a broomstick, works the professor. Yes, a man with a brilliant mind, worked alone in the swamp, worked frantically amidst his bubbling retorts and test tubes, worked against time. Now the whole work was done, the mixture was ready, and he was just mixing a martini that whole time. Then he walks over to his real bubbling cauldron, which has like a walrus and a snake.
Yeah,
and
a goat and a fly trap, one of those fly tapes covered with...
Those are so gross. With or without flies, they're gross. Because without flies, it's the knowledge of future flies. And after, it's just flies.
How about these books on the chicken fat books? Mickey Spillane's cookbook. Mickey Spillane, that was one that Mad lampooned. EC Annual and How to Win Friends and Influence People, burning underneath the cauldron.
And so it's like a recipe given to him by an old Cajun witch woman. And he finishes the mixture and it smells terrible. And he dumps the mixture out into the swamp where it sort of festers and like bubbles and pops. I like how like the one panel outside, there's like a little marathon man running by.
I missed that. I missed that the first time I read it.
I think he might be holding something like maybe a map or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like holding a map. He's like, how did I end up here? And there's like a lot of crazy sound effects that start coming. Like, you get snap, crackle, pop, but then you get like hoo-ha, hoot, toot, bash, crump, pow, ouch, breep, breep, too hot, too hoot. Kerchunk, kerchunk.
You got precursor to some Don Martin here.
Oh, yeah. And there's like a beavers building a dam.
Yeah, like a hydroelectric dam they're building.
The chicken fat's often working double duty. And then this mound starts pulsating, quivering, and growing out of the goop. And it stood up erect, a horrible standing glob of swamp thing. There was nothing to call it but Heap. And I love Heap. Look at him.
Heap is cool. He was a cool character, cool design.
Little pink eyes. Even a skunk is disgusted by him.
Oh, makes me pity poor Heap.
So when the professor woke up, he finds Heap standing outside the door. He was truly the Heap's father, and the Heap embraced him in its slimy banana peel and tin can encrusted arms. And the evil professor got a horrid idea. So basically, he sends the Heap in to rob the bank.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And before that, there's like this beautiful reunion. From somewhere inside this Heap came a croak that sounded like Papa. It looks like it's about to be this lovely reunion, only for it to be like, all right, get your ass in there. Give me some money.
Yeah, oddball mad scientist behavior, too. Like, it's kind of unexpected. So the bank robbing scene is pretty good. I like how there's a guy sniffing his armpit in there. Is that me? I do that.
Dude, I do that constantly.
Oh, yeah.
And then, you know what? Every once in a while, I catch a whiff, and I'm like, I don't give a shit. I'm not going to see any of these people again. Fine. I'll be a stinky-ass person at Target.
Well, now that I'm in school again, I'm frequently on the bus and near, like, stinky young men.
You take the school bus?
No, well, I'm taking the city bus.
Oh, okay.
I'm not taking a school bus.
Going to college. See you later, honey. The bus is here.
Here's your lunch. I wanted the He-Man thermos. Yeah, so I'm around a lot more guys with BO. And I keep doing the like, wait, that's not me, is it? Oh, right now it is, actually. Normally I'm not saying that, but right now. Whew. So that's pretty good. He robs the bank. It's just throwing up the money, pouring out of a mattress. And it was easy to keep the Heap happy. Just an old decayed fish, cold, wet coffee grounds, a bit of dripping newspaper that was used to line the garbage bin. He just throws the scraps to the Heap.
Yeah.
Or should I say to Heap?
It's Heap, yeah.
Yeah.
Heap is its name.
That's an important distinction, as we'll learn later. Heap starts to change.
Heap hits puberty.
Yeah, basically. He's doing his hair and he's like putting DDT on like it's perfume. And then you see him and he's dressed in a zoot suit with a belt tied in the back. And he goes out on the town into the swamp. And it turns out he's in love with a different Heap, a female garbage heap.
Yeah.
Who knew a garbage heap could be coded as female?
Well, with curves like that.
Oh, wow.
I'm not surprised.
It's about as hot a garbage heap as you're going to see. His hearts are little slimy hearts.
Yeah.
And he's sitting on a log, but it says bus stop.
That's you. That's you on your way to school.
That's me. Yeah. I'm Heap in my zoot suit. So the professor, he knows what needs to be done. When Heap comes home to look at his beloved, the professor's burnt it down. And Heap freaks out. He kicks the broomstick that holds the professor's shack up, and it collapses into, a different Heap. And it runs amok in the village, freeing garbage from its cans and mindful of policemen's bullets. So he's kind of like Frosty the Snowman in that way, running wild through the village.
Yeah. Frosty famously never was shot by the police.
Well, they hollered stop.
Yeah.
It's implied after that he didn't comply, and so they just
stop or.
And they even said like garbage men after him, and it says he leaves, never to be seen again.
Some say when the moon is full, you can see it wandering over the city dump, searching for a certain little garbage pile. Some say it found that certain little garbage pile. And when the moon is full, you can see them being followed by tiny little garbage piles.
And you can see it. He's walking. He's got his arm around the girl garbage heap. He's got like an old school garbage can, like a street cleaner would have. And there's like a baby garbage heap in there with a bottle and two little heaps. One's got a balloon.
My favorite is the moon up in the sky. This like scrunched up face. Yeah.
Yeah, because they've got a real waft coming off of them. Also, I just noticed something in the panel above when he's running through town. He knocks over a garbage can. A picture of Stalin is falling out.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
That's Stalin, right?
What did Stalin ever do?
I don't know. I'm not going to apologize for him. But, he took Russia from a very small economy to a world power.
Yeah, that's impressive.
So he did some things right, I guess. Just all the starvation and suffering.
Well, here's a great line for you to read from Ramon.
You might say they lived heapily ever after. He's closing his book with squeaks. The crow obviously liked his story. He's sniffling. He's got a little broken heart. There's a pile of bologna there. It says a lot of bologna. And also a jar that says full of applesauce, which is that an older way to say something a story that's full of applesauce?
I have no idea. Full of applesauce. Yeah. We'll need one of our older listeners to clue us in on that reference. I love this. So it's again, the chicken fat on the door as he's slowly squeaking it closed. The sword swallower swallowing the sword, then pulling it out, and his stomach is attached to the end of it.
I always love a piece of chicken fat that is sequential.
Yeah.
Or recurs. That's always a nice touch. And I like how the crow, as he's closing the door, the crow is getting ready for bed. First it's yawning, it's putting on its nightcap, that's gargling, and then it takes off its beak.
Yeah.
Like false teeth, and puts it in the cup.
That's the freakiest part.
And then the cup is on its nose when he's facing it. And then when it finally closes with clunk, you can see his fingers and his nose, and the bird's nose got cut off by the door.
Well, the bird's nose is called its beak, Kyle.
Oh, good point. Good point. This is in bird facts.
Yeah. Then it's hey, look here. I forgot to take out the garbage. Wait a minute. It's not garbage. It's Heap. I love that it's just called Heap.
Do you know why that's important not to call it the Heap?
Why?
Well, let me take you back to a little publication called Hillman Periodicals Air Fighter Comics from 1942. So it was a comic book.
Yeah.
It had a bunch of aviator superheroes, Airboy, Black Angel, the Iron Ace, and for our purposes, Skywolf, which was an international team of flying aces who fought Nazis.
Wait, is this the one that's sexy Mickey Mouse? Sky Pirates? Are you talking about Sky Pirates?
No. That comes 30 years later.
All right.
It was a ripoff of Black Hawk. It's actually the next story in this issue of Mad. Is actually a parody of Black Hawk, coincidentally. And it's just a team of international flying aces. One guy's got a big French mustache, and one guy's got a German Stein or whatever. Kind of the same thing they did with Captain America's team
in the very first Captain America. Yeah.
Yeah. And did they do that in the comics? I didn't really read Captain America.
Yeah, there's Dum Dum Duggan, I think, is the guy who had the bowler cap and the stick.
So he had his fighting team of international.
Yeah, but also Sergeant Fury, they did that for, and
yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a model that was already well established. So there's a story in there, Skywolf story, written by Harry Stein with art by Mort Leave. And so a World War I German flying ace, Baron Emmelmann, crashes into a swamp, and though on death's door, through a triumph of the will, he refuses to die. And he goes into this weird stasis and merges with the swamp, becoming the Heap, a wandering, mindless muckman that would later be cribbed in 1971 by Marvel as Man-Thing.
By Swamp Thing.
And DC as Swamp Thing, in the same year. And despite being a mindless, zombified Red Baron character turned blob, the Heap is essentially a good guy and typically helps the heroes defeat Nazis. And the Heap is a hit. And it gets its own series within Airboy Comics. So after the war, they changed Airfighter Comics to Airboy Comics.
Yeah.
Because he was the most popular character out of that book. But then the Heap is a recurring title within that book.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. I know Airboy. Airboy is one of those characters that they'd resurrect every once in a while and make comics for.
Yeah, Eclipse probably put out an Airboy Comics, I bet, at some point.
Yeah.
He's one of the more popular third-tier war hero characters.
Yeah.
If you've heard of anybody from these books, you would have heard of Airboy. And the Heap was in Airboy. And it's an interesting comic because the Heap is silent and the stories are told through narration. And they have a lot of elements of horror comics. And so Heap is the Heap.
Oh, man.
This comic's doing triple duty. It's parodying Inner Sanctum, the radio show. It's parodying Tales from the Crypt. It's parodying the Heap. It's a wild story.
Yeah.
So what'd you think of Outer Sanctum?
I liked it. I mean, it's You got Will Elder doing this art. Like, what's not to love? So much fun to look at. And it is like, it's a funny story, too. It is well written.
Yeah, and it has the horror, so that's always like a nice element. But anyway, we better be fleeing for our lives. We're being chased.
Don't you know it? Come on the show and don't feel blue. Say, come on down, do that dance. Call the heebie-jeebie dance. Call the heebie-jeebie dance. I got the heebie-jeebies. What you doing with the jeebies? Said I got those heebies. Got those heebies. The heebie-jeebies.
Welcome now to the begging and groveling department.
That's right. This is where we draw a pentagram on the floor, get down on our knees and grovel and beg for our lives. And that's because we want something from you. We want you to tell your friends, tell your family. Maybe you're a decrepit cemetery groundskeeper living in a mausoleum. We want you to open your dusty tome of horrors and tell your fellow ghoul lunatics about PODRZEBIE.
Hey, Kyle, what if people want more of you and less of me?
Well, you can summon me by sacrificing a hooved animal, or you can visit me on my website, kylebridget.com, where you can hire me to do a commission or whatever nefarious purposes you need me to do. Or you can find me on YouTube at Little Cozy Nostril, where I do a variety of shows, including Canonically Crumb, where I explore the comics and characters of R. Crumb's Crummyverse. And hey, why not buy the official PODRZEBIE shirt from my TeePublic store? How about you, Patrick?
Well, if you want to support me, you can check me out at youtube.com/flippinthrough, where I post a new video every week reviewing issues of Mad Magazine. I also do a semi-weekly live stream, sometimes with guests, sometimes all by my lonesome. But either way, go and check that out. It is a lot of fun.
That's right. And PODRZEBIE will be back eventually. Wherever you get podcasts or on YouTube.
Hey, thank you so much for listening.
By the way, how's your mummy?
Let's go to our first department, which is Tales. What is it again?
The Crypt Creepers department.
The Crypt Keepers department.
Crypt Creepers. And you say welcome to.
Welcome to the Crypt Keepers department.
Creeper.
Fuck.